No matter how old you are, you always remember your first console. Back in the mid-2000s, I was a handheld kid all the way with my Game Boy Advance, SP, and Nintendo DS Lite. I didn't really know much outside of the portable games I played, but when Nintendo decided to start a revolution, it was finally time for me to be introduced to a Nintendo system, and by 2007, this console really rocked me. It's the Nintendo Wii. This system was hard to get a hold of. My parents could attest to that, as they couldn't find one for quite a while when it did release. I was almost an Xbox 360 kid as a result, but luckily I was able to grow up with arguably the best system to come out of the 7th generation. The Nintendo Wii was released on November 19th, 2006 as Nintendo's 5th and soon-to-be most popular home console ever. This is the original box. Luckily it was one that we kept all this time. Still in pretty solid shape, showing the console and controller in all its white glory. I remember my dad surprising us on the stairs when he was finally able to locate a Wii. That was a day I almost forgot. Details are sparse. Looking closer at the box, we can see an IBM insignia or logo. This signifies there being some microprocessor tech within this system, in this case being their Broadway CPU. That'll mean something to someone. The rest of the box is pretty self-explanatory. You have the Wii logo, the Nintendo logo, remember when it was white and gray? You also have other essential information scattered about, which you can read at your own convenience, but by these days it isn't anything you're not used to seeing. I'd rather look at the pictures myself, even if they don't show much, or know that Wii Sports is included in this box. I can't stand it anymore. It's time we get a closer look at the Wii itself. Well, here it is, Nintendo's revolutionary Wii. Some of you might be thinking, is that it? But that question is warranted even back when it was new. Over the last few console generations, Nintendo usually had the competitive edge when it came to technical specs, but this time around Nintendo took a different approach, compromising power and other things for different offerings. This was Nintendo's solution following the GameCube's lack of sales during its time, along with other issues, but it nonetheless made the Wii less powerful than its competition. But you can make it taller with this stand. It also has a stand plate. I've always seen this in pictures and never knew what it was. Turns out it was in the box and never used. On closer inspection of the front of the Wii, we have the power button, which could have been in multiple colors. Red for off, green for on, and white when connected to the internet. You remember the days of Nintendo Wi-Fi, right? We also have a reset button if you needed to reset the system the old-fashioned way, and just below that is this little door that you could do two things within, one being to insert an SD card to get additional memory, and a sync button to connect your controller, or rather, your remote to. The Wii Remote would become an iconic controller in its own right, and of course be synonymous with the Wii for its own reasons, most of it having to do with the Wii's selling point, motion controls. The Wii was the first system to fully adapt the concept for better or worse. Love him or hate him, it was groundbreaking stuff at the time. I've done an AC review covering it in more detail, so check that out if you're interested. Continuing on the front of the Wii, we have this eject button next to a mini Wii logo, which can reject the discs out of this here disc slot. If this generation can be remembered for anything, it's that all the systems preferred to have their disc slots sideways. The Xbox 360 did it, along with early PS3s if you chose to have it up that way, but if you didn't trust it to take your Wii games like this, you could always put it on its side, as it has the foot pads around here to keep it balanced. This side also has little air holes near the front, so it has to keep that part up in case of overheating. Up top, we have perhaps the most ingenious use of backwards compatibility. For if we flip these hidden doors, we can find the controller and memory slots for the Nintendo GameCube. That's right, the Wii is able to play GameCube games. How that's able to work is because it was designed somewhat over the GameCube's architecture. Makes a little sense why it was less powerful. Still, having the option was sweet, though sadly it was taken away from future revisions. During my days, it wasn't used much, until my friend pointed out the fact, then I was like, oh. Not much left to see on the sides besides a few logos. It's almost like a white void that they might have reserved to place the logo on, but chose against it. On the bottom, we can see some foot pads, the air intake vent, some general information, and this little screw. This covers a lithium battery that keeps track of the date and time, so if you need to get in there, you're going to need a screwdriver handy. On the back, we have several things of note, like the big vent, USB connectors to use for a few choice accessories, the AC in, and AV out. Surprisingly, the Wii wasn't the first Nintendo system to go into HD. You have to wait 6 years before that became reality, but that was another one of the system's limitations. But then again, HD TVs were still a new concept people were slowly coming around to. You know what I just realized when looking around this entire system? I didn't see any additional screws. How the heck do you open this up? Last but not least, there's this little red connector that's used for the sensor bar, which is this long thingy here. It's used in conjunction with the Wii remote as it can place a cursor on screen for the user to control. I have 3 of these as my childhood cat chewed the wire on the original. We've had a wireless one since, but I just got another wired one when I got a Wii U, and I prefer to use that for convenience sake. Sometimes wires can make life quicker, so long as they're not tangled. Now that we've covered mostly everything on the system, let's see what it's like on the television. I feel like I should comment on its home menu as it was one of the first and perhaps the most memorable in the 7th generation. Sure, startup screens and menus were present before, even the GameCube had a cool yet limited one, but I would argue this was more than what came before, as you had other things you could do apart from playing games, like make a Me in the Me channel, look at the weather in the Forecast channel, go shopping for games in the Wii Shop channel, and a whole slew of other neat things if you took the time to look around. It was very well thought out, and it's bringing back a lot of memories. Even the Everybody Votes channel brings back a vague memory. But we all use the Wii not just to play around with silly applications, but to also play Wii games. So let's get a disc in and watch the slot illuminate, then when it loads, I can relive my childhood again. The Wii had quite the library during its run. While most are quick to point out the shovelware, I luckily avoided those apart from a couple exceptions, but I still got to play some of the best this system had to offer, like Wii Sports, Super Mario Galaxy, Wii Play, Sonic Colors, and a multitude of LEGO games. I also enjoyed games that could have been hit or miss, like the WWE games, Wii Ski, Spider-Man Friend or Foe, Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, and MLB Power Pros. Currently, I'm trying to find some of the popular games I missed out on during my youth, like Punch-Out and Donkey Kong Country Returns, but I've recently gotten a few like WarioWare Smooth Moves, Wario Land Shake It, Mario Kart Wii, and Muscle March before the Wii Shop channel closed, reminding me why I fell in love with this console all those years ago. I even did play a little GameCube before I got into collecting. An old friend still had his GameCube and games, and back when we were able to hang out, he brought over Luigi's Mansion, and I was hooked. You could say the Wii was one of the key reasons I got into collecting. It's loose, but still a factor nonetheless. The Wii, for me, was my childhood and the greatest escape I had to combat the troubles I encountered in my youth. It's the system I'm thankful for and will never forget. For many, it's a system that sparked a small revolutionary fad for motion controls that's still in Nintendo's DNA to this day. While it isn't their primary focus now, back then it made them a ton of money and the clear winner during the 7th console generation. It went on to get a successor that failed to capture the same magic, but that doesn't take away my enjoyment of this system. And if you so happen to find the original Wii in great condition and reasonably priced, I'd say it's a must-have, so you can try out a system that might have not looked like much, but packed that motion control punch. It's the Nintendo Wii. Looking at these systems has been a joy, whether it was those that I played back then or currently. It's been a real treat to look at the hardware that's played some of our favorite or least favorite software. There's still plenty of consoles and handhelds to discover, but what's coming on the next season remains to be seen. If you think I missed anything, please leave a comment. If you like what you see, leave a like. If you think others could get knowledge out of this, share this video. And if you want to see more, go ahead and subscribe. Now if you'll excuse me, nostalgia is calling.